What's happening, everyone? James Lynch here, fresh off the golf course, and I just found out that Magomed Ankalaev is going to be taking on Khalil Rountree. This according to Vesnik MMA. I've referenced this account before on the channel. Very much in the know when it comes to all things MMA. This was a fight that I kind of alluded to on the live stream. I actually might have even mentioned that I thought it was going to be Khalil and Magomed themselves. It makes a lot of sense. If you look at the light heavyweight division, there's either fighters booked up or they're injured. You can kind of play the process of elimination as far as who's going to fight next. So a couple interesting things here about the matchup itself. First and foremost, no interim title. There was some talk of that, right, with Carlos Ulberg being on the shelf. We don't know how long he's going to be out. You figure at some point they are going to do an interim title. And the second thing is that this is going to be taking place in Abu Dhabi on July 25th. So Rountree, you're going to have to travel over there for this fight. So should be interesting. And again, this is a main event, 5 rounds, but no title. So, and it kind of makes sense too, because both fighters are coming off losses. Of course, Ankalaev losing his light heavyweight title to Alex Pereira in the first round. Pretty interesting fight there after Ankalaev beat Pereira in the first fight. A lot of people expected Ankalaev to do the same. In fact, I saw a lot of people saying that Ankalaev was going to smoke him worse, and that's not what happened. Pereira, to his credit, defeats Ankalaev. So a bit of layoff for Ankalaev, who has not fought since October. He looks to get back in the win column against Khalil Rountree. And I do like this fight because it's a fresh matchup. These two haven't fought before. Very high level fight. Also with Khalil's style, this is going to be more of a brawling fight, you would think. So could be very interesting as far as the matchup goes. So again, prior to that, Ankalaev was undefeated. His only loss is to Pereira. And you look at some of the guys he's beat, Rakic, Walker, Blachowicz had the draw there. Although a lot of people felt like he won that fight. If you look on MMAdecisions.com, the no contest with Johnny Walker, which should have been a win. So yeah, a lot of different things there. Ankalaev, obviously one of the most dangerous guys. Now, Khalil Rountree is interesting. He has not fought since the Yuri fight, and a fight that he was winning. Let's be honest. A lot of us, after watching that second round, thought Khalil's going to win a decision here, and he doesn't end up doing it. He's sort of gassed out in that fight. He ends up getting finished by Yuri Prochazka, one of the best comeback fights in UFC history. Prior to that, nice win over Jamal Hill. Had a very good fight against Alex Pereira in a fight where he was up, and then ends up getting finished late in the fight. So good effort there. And then prior to that, not a super strong schedule here. Anthony Smith, Chris Dawkins, Dustin Jacoby, Carl Robertson. Had a couple up and down fights prior to that. Losses to Kutalaba, Pershino, Johnny Walker. But yeah, the Rountree we've seen as of late, despite losing 2 of his last 3 fights, has looked very good and a lot different than what we've seen in the past. Quick tail of the tape between these two. Usually I do that first, but I forgot to do it here. 33 years old here for Ankalaev, 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. Khalil Rountree is 36, so he's 3 years older. He's 6'1" with a 76.5-inch reach. So Rountree can have a little bit of a reach advantage in this fight. Ankalaev's going to be taller, and he's also 3 years younger. So a lot of advantages here for Magomed Ankalaev. Again, that Abu Dhabi card, July 25th. Trying to think if they've announced any other fights for that card. I don't think they have. So that's going to be a week, 2 weeks after the International Fight Week card. So yeah, Walter Walker's on this card as well. Kuniev and Tyrell Fortune, Bonfim and Sola. So yeah, going to be, they always make these cards very strong in the Middle East here. But yeah, if you look at the rankings, like this does make a lot of sense as far as them fighting each other. So you look at it there, Khalil's number 5, Ankalaev's number 1. Pereira's left the weight class. He should realistically be out of the rankings. Yuri obviously just lost. I know he wants to get back in there. Jan's on the shelf, was supposed to fight Bogdan at 328. He's going to be back probably later this year. Jamal Hill's still injured. Paulo Costa's coming off a win. That's the thing. Now with Costa coming off a win, do they maybe do the winner of this fight against Costa for an interim title? I think they're going to still do an interim title just because of the fact that it does sound like Ulberg's injury is pretty serious, could take him out for a while. I don't think it'll be a full year that Ulberg fights again, but they're going to want to headline cards, and you're going to need title fights there. And I just think that it will, undoubtedly be an interim fight there. You got Azamat, who's coming off a loss, Volkan Ozdemir, Bogdan, Dominic Reyes coming off a win, technically not in a very good fight. Johnny Walker's gone to heavyweight. So yeah, a lot of things going on in the division, but this just seems like an obvious fight, and two guys that certainly need to, I'm sure would like to be a little bit more active, because I mentioned Ankalaev hasn't fought since October. Neither has Khalil Rountree. So as far as a pick in this fight, my early pick, and I will do a full breakdown on this on early look, I think you got to go Ankalaev. Right? Like, again, Pereira did knock him out. I kind of put Pereira in that exception to the rule category where, like, he can just knock out anyone. Khalil Rountree doesn't really have that same power. He does have knockout wins, but saying that, couldn't finish Jamal Hill. does finish Anthony Smith, but it was a later finish. And then he's, beating guys like Dawkins and Carl Roberson and Modestas and all that. I wouldn't really put them in the same caliber there, not to mention the fact that Khalil's 36 years old. I also have some questions about him training with the Jackson camp. Is he going to go to Syndicate for this camp? I think that's kind of been a better fit for him, training with John Wood. But this Jackson camp, I don't know. I got some questions about it, right? Like, we saw what happened with Chimaev and, the weight cut and all that stuff. I don't know. Is that because of the camp? I don't know. I just wonder, is Khalil with the best training partners to get ready for a fight with Ankalaev? I don't know. We'll have to see here. I'm curious to see what type of camp he has going into this. Saying that, I was very impressed with, the Yuri fight, despite him losing. I mean, he did look very good. If we can get that version of Khalil and push the pace against Ankalaev, things can get interesting here. Again, same thing with the Pereira fight. Had a very strong start to that one. So we'll see. I'm not going to count out Khalil in this fight. He's also tough to finish. If you look at it there, like Yuri did finish him late. Pereira finishes him late. Ankalaev doesn't really finish his opponents. And if he does, it's usually like kind of lower level guys like a Johnny Walker or, Anthony Smith. Again, there's some common opponents here, but I think your best bet in this fight is Ankalaev decision. The big thing with him is he's got to win. I mean, we know he doesn't get treated very well by the UFC as far as opportunities and all that. So I think the big thing for him is just getting the win, because if he loses, I mean, who knows where his career will go from here. But I have a hard time seeing Khalil win this fight, because I don't think he knocks him out. He's certainly not going to submit him. He's not going to out-wrestle him. I think Ankalaev's got some advantages there. Khalil, again, does have a little bit of a reach advantage, but I don't think this is anything different than what Ankalaev's seen before. And he's got to be hungry, man. Like, again, a lot of people felt like he was going to beat Pereira in that rematch. And, in some ways, I don't want to say he got embarrassed, but it was a tough loss to come off Pereira losing in the first round like that. So it's kind of difficult there to, come off that and try and do better. And then for Khalil, it's like you were so close. So Khalil wins this fight. He's fighting for the title, right? He's fighting Alberg next. So he missed out on that opportunity by losing that fight. So, and I think it would be smart by Ankalaev to, just weather the early storm and then take this into deep waters and then maybe take advantage. Maybe Ankalaev gets a finish and it's a little bit later, but probably not. We just don't see a lot of finishing ability here from Ankalaev, but curious to see where Ankalaev's training for this camp. Same thing with Khalil. Like I said, he's been doing work at the Jackson camp. You got to imagine now he's getting ready to go. And again, part of the reason I thought this fight was going to get made anyways is because obviously they hadn't been booked in a while. I talked to John Wood about a month ago. This was talking to him about the Gina Carano fight, and he did mention that Khalil had something close. And I thought, well, you just go down the list right now. Who's he going to fight? I thought they might have gone the route of giving Khalil and Paulo Costa like an interim title fight. I thought they might do that just because this is the Paramount era. They want exciting fights. It would certainly be an exciting fight with Paulo Costa and Khalil Rountree. But as you see here, no interim title. So I do wonder if they're saving the interim title maybe for later this year, or maybe they're not doing it at all. Maybe Alberg does come back in time, but I have a feeling like maybe do an interim title fight with Paulo Costa versus the winner of this fight. I think that would make sense because everyone else right now is kind of booked up, doesn't really have much going on. Again, I don't think Blachowicz won't be fighting anytime soon. Same thing with Jamal Hill. So, and Costa, like everyone that he could possibly fight up is either injured or booked up right now. So I think Costa might have to wait a bit. And like I said, I think he could fight the winner of this fight for an interim title, or maybe the winner of that fight someone there. And then, yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it. Or maybe, whoever looks the best, if this fight's not good and maybe they're still impressed with Paulo Costa, then they just maybe outright give Paulo Costa the title shot. I don't know. A lot of questions though right now as far as what's going on with the division. Very solid fight. I imagine they're going to add some even more solid fights there to the Abu Dhabi card, but fun one here on July 25th. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Was this the fight to make? Do you think they should have booked this one? Would you have liked to see someone else in this spot as well? And what do you make of the fact that there's no title here, no interim title, and it being in Abu Dhabi? Let me know what you think. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.